So, very good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the fifth lecture as part of the entrepreneurship talk series that we are organizing here at Department of Entrepreneurship and Management, IIT Hyderabad. So today we are having Miss Smrithy Sasidharan as our speaker. And before we can hand over to Ms. Smriti, I would like to briefly introduce her background. So Ms. Smriti is the Director of Operations in Vatson Industries, which is based in Hyderabad, which is involved in building sustainable construction material. And they have clients all over the country. So we are today having this talk from Ms. Smriti and looking forward to learn a lot from her experience, and I hope there will be a lot of benefit to students. So moving forward, she is the managing director of also the Watson Automation, and she's recognized as a woman ambassador in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 category. She's also a council member of the Maharashtra Manufacturing Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She's the alumnus of IIM Bangalore and ISB Hyderabad. She has done her engineering in mechatronics. And going to her work experience, like I mentioned earlier, she's the managing director of Watson Automation and the director of operations at Watson Industries. She was a senior engineer, production and planning in the same industry, Watson Industries, earlier in 2011 and 12. So she has been involved with this company since more than 9 years. And she has also been before taking her career in entrepreneurship with Watson Industries or top management with Watson Industries. She was also consultant at Deloitte, and yeah. So her mission is to bring cutting-edge digital technologies to Indian manufacturing by building collaborations with industry leaders throughout the world. And in her free time, she likes to hike, travel, paint, and Netflix. So today, her topic of lecture is going to be Machines and Buildings, a Woman's Tale. So with this introduction of Ms. Smriti, I hand over the stage to you. So you can, looking forward for all the experiences that you have from your journey.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lohit. And let me mention that Lohit and I were classmates in college. And thank you so much, Lohit, for connecting me to this wonderful group and giving me this opportunity.
Yeah,
so let me begin by sharing my presentation. A moment. I hope my screen is visible to everybody. It is, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. After that introduction, I don't think there's much I need to introduce myself, but let me begin by saying that it is a pleasure to be addressing young engineers from one of the premier institutions of the country. The cherry on my cake over here is that Hyderabad is the one place that I will always call home, and you're all from Hyderabad, so I'm excited to address you. Excitement aside, like Lohit said, I'm Smrithy Sasidharan. I run a manufacturing industry, Vatson Industries. We manufacture sustainable building material that is required to build energy efficient industrial buildings. So if you need any further details about what I do and the kind of products and Vatson, we can connect later, definitely. But I'm here to talk to you about my relationship as a woman with buildings and machines. So before I get into the talk, could I perhaps get you to open menti.com and we could possibly do a small poll. And if you connect to menti.com on your mobile or on your laptop, you can just enter this code and you can enter your answer for the question that you see on the screen. The code is 30573136. What words can cross your mind when I say machines and buildings? Infrastructure, nice. You can enter multiple answers because since we don't have a full quorum considering, oh, interesting word, I like that. Oh. Strength. Yes, I like strength. Thank you so much for participating. So yeah, this is a baseline that we have right now. This is just to set context to understand machines and buildings are usually associated with development, technology, big projects. It's a strength of the country. It is something that, and automation is very important to drive things forward. So we all know what the machines and building, basically the manufacturing and the industry landscape in India is. There are places we're lagging behind, there are places we're working towards. So this is the context, but we all know, we are all on the same page when we say that we're talking about infrastructure, strength, growth, development, and it is still futuristic, though it has always been with us. So moving on to my second question. Yeah, you can see it on your screen. Name a few leading entrepreneurs and industrialists of India. Anybody. I hope you can see the second question on your screens. The big wigs are in. Some more names, perhaps? Wow. Nice. Thank you so much. Any more names? Yeah, there are more coming in. Neil Kamal, perhaps you can connect to the menti.com and try it. But then, yeah, I have seen your response in the chat as well. I have answers as Vijay Shekhar Sharma and Baiju Ravindran. Bini Bansal, Ambani, Vijay Shekhar Sharma. So we have many big names. And then in this entire pool of names, we have one Falguni Nair and one Kiran Majumdar Shaw. This, my friends, is the bone to pick I have with us because we don't have enough women leaders to name. The balance is a little off. We have fewer women role models who are entrepreneurs and industrialists in our country, maybe worldwide also. So setting context like this, let's go on to my presentation where we take it forward from there. I'm closing the poll for now. And thank you so much for participating. Moving on. You're all in the city of pearls, and and hence what I thought, let me bring in some pearl analogy. The Steve Jobs speech about one second. Can you see my? Okay, share this tab. Yeah. Yeah. Steve Jobs' speech about connecting the dots is quite popular and one of the most inspiring speeches I have heard in my lifetime. I am now almost 10 years, I am now 10 years into my career, and I do not want to look back and stop at just connecting the dots. I wish to string the pearls of my past, my present, and my future. And hence, this is the project I'm on right now. In the course of this process, perhaps if you can connect to this analogy of mine, we could further connect, and I can at the end get one of you to volunteer, and I can help you connect string the pearls of your past, present, and future. So moving on, my past, the milestones. Milestones. Milestones for me are not the learnings per se. Milestones for me is not the achievements I have had so far. It's mostly the learnings I have had or the realizations that I wish to carry forward through my career, my life, everything. To begin with, let me start with an anecdote. I have grown with Vatson Industries. My parents started this business in 94, and it is pretty much like a sibling to me. I still remember that I would go back from school directly to the office while my parents were working in the background in the hustle bustle of the daily business, while I did my homework in the corner or played on a computer. Every weekend, every Saturday was a day when I visited the factory with my father, where I saw machines work, where I saw tools, where I knew the names of all the tools before I was 7 years old. Dad's always took around and showed me these things because he never distinguished that I'm a girl and I needn't know it. So I had the privilege. And a more closer anecdote that I remember is when I was studying for my kinematics of machinery examination in the factory, mind you, when there was a technician and my father trying to set up a new piece of equipment in the factory. During that process, we were a little short-handed, I saw. And we needed, that's when I saw my mother step up to the controls of the machines and operate a few buttons at the instruction of my father and the technician. That's when an understanding dawned onto me, which is the machine didn't know her gender. I guess the same holds good for buildings as well. The next anecdote is after I had a comfortable job at Deloitte. I had my first paycheck. It was exciting. There were parties every day, and I really enjoyed every bit of it. But even during those times, my Saturdays were Watsons. That's when I went to the factory with my father, saw people working on AutoCAD, and I tried to dabble a little because we had learned some as a mechanical engineer. We had learned some in college. So I realized in some time, about a year or so, that my heart is still that of a mechie. That's when I decided to leave this cushy job in an air condition and decided to sweat and bleed at a manufacturing industry, quite literally, while I learned to operate machinery, while I learned production planning, while I learned site management, design, every aspect of the business. This was my 2 years as an engineering trainee at Vatson Industries, where I learned a lot through the process, quite hands-on. I was able to widen my wavelength, and a number of challenges were thrown at me because manufacturing in general is a very difficult space. And it is a space that has been established, and there are very senior people there, and young people. It takes a lot of effort for people to take us seriously in this industry. And with time, you have to prove yourself time and again to be able to express or communicate with them. And I also had this learnings that I had from Deloitte, where I saw a corporate environment, I saw processes in place. So this was the time that I took and the effort that I made with a little resistance from the company itself. What is the boss's daughter trying to teach us? Sort of a resistance, where we tried to bring in some processes in place, where I got them to get ISO certifications, and we are also FM Global approved, because I decided to bring the focus of the company towards loss prevention and fire safety, because this was me applying my learnings of a corporate world into a 25-year-old manufacturing industry. We are 27 now, and so this was my journey in Vatson. Cut to my first big client meeting in, I think, 2013, that was, where I met with a big client along with a colleague, a male colleague. It was an hour-long meeting, friends, and through the entire meeting, I had zero eye contact with the gentleman across the table. All the questions were addressed to my colleague. I was trying to cut in, but he always interrupted me. This is 1 hour of torture, something that I had never experienced before. Like I said, I had a very privileged upbringing where my family had never distinguished between the boys and girls of our family. It was unheard of. And in our family, it's not that I was completely ignorant of what's happening out in the world, but I never knew that would happen in an office room, because I worked in Deloitte first and didn't experience that much over there. So this was quite an eye opener. I came home upset. I met my father. He was reading the newspaper like most men his age. He peeked from behind the newspaper and looked at me and said, "Smriti, if you want to be a part of this industry, I mean, you're in a fusion of manufacturing and construction. This is very male dominated. You have to work twice as hard as me or all your male colleagues." This was quite the realization, and that told this to me quite matter of factly. I was hurt, but I decided to brace myself. I put in long hours, late nights. I studied again. Every meeting, I would not just study the problem statement or the solutions I'm providing. I also studied the people I would go and meet, because that is when I decided I am being groomed to become a woman entrepreneur. And as a woman entrepreneur, I don't need to let go of the woman in me. Let me embrace it. I bring to the table qualities that are usually unheard of on a conference table. I brought in empathy. I brought in emotions, which is not a bad thing. It is when we can holistically solve problems together. And I also made sure if I had any shortcomings, I did not get any technical aspects of it because of being young or not having as much as experience. I made sure I read up. I read up, studied, made notes. I still have the notes of every calculation I made as a growing engineer in Vatson. And while I slowly took on to leadership roles, I've shared it with all my partners and my team members. So this was me embracing the woman and the woman entrepreneur and finding a place on that table. So another thing I really had to do at that point of time is to try and look older by wearing serious glasses and saris so that people took me more seriously. So I had to appear wiser also. So I tried every trick in the book to make sure that I found my place on that table. And so those were the pearls of my past. Let me move on to my mission, my present, the pearls of my today. So now I'm on a mission mode. I want to build an inclusive manufacturing and construction ecosystem in India. We need everybody on board, and we want everybody talking about the same thing, understanding the importance of inclusion in every industry, more so in industries such as this, where we described in our earlier question. All of you gave me the answer that manufacturing is our strength. But will we have full potential of our strength if we only have half the population capable working over there? We need the other half of the population to come out and contribute. So in my effort, I am working for Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, the Manufacturing Council for that, where I have fellow entrepreneurs, women who have been working in the manufacturing industry for 20 years, 25 years, and they have seen greater degrees of differentiation, distinguishment, and unfairness in general. And they bring to the table their learnings. So we have together decided that the challenges we faced needn't be faced by the young girls who wish to join the industry in the future. And for that, we move on to my second target, hiring and training women. I'm designing training programs for women specific to my industry, where women can be taught to do the conventional men job in the manufacturing industry, which is machine operation, welding, fitting, carpentry. I know this takes a lot of effort because I've been trying to hire women for this for the past few years and not finding anybody. And this is where I think the answer lies in automation and cutting edge technology. Because when those come into the picture, brawn is not in the picture. We need different sets of skills. And the skill gap that exists in the space can be covered equally, may it be men or women. Neither the men nor the women in India are adept to run an automated plant yet. We don't have that sort of learnings and teachings earlier in our educational system. This can be taught about in the industries, or we can bring about a system where they are made adept to do these jobs in a manufacturing industry. And so we can reduce the gender divide even in these industries by doing this. Another thing that I'm doing is growing my tribe, because this mission is very ambitious for a single person. I think we have established that because it's huge. And hence, I have my tribe of Goldman Sachs 10K women. This is a program that I have attended specific towards entrepreneurship, putting us all in a growth mindset for our respective industries. But the best byproduct we have had in this process, while my first session with IMB and the second one with the Indian School of Business, in both the sessions, I got in with me my tribe of around 40 plus 4, around 60 women in the first batch and the 40 in the second batch. So these are about 100 women who who are going through similar issues such as me in their respective industries as entrepreneurs. And this tribe is so powerful that I have even made 3 a.m. friends who have my back at any time of the day. And this tribe is something that gives me connections worldwide for any problem that I have. In fact, I had to give a talk in the AI Summer Academy here. And that's when I had to grope through my network and find out anybody who can help me understand and give me talking points for the particular topic I had chosen, which was AI in manufacturing with a gender twist to it. So this is my topic. So I contacted Wiki and GS10K women, and I got so many inputs in a matter of few hours, and maybe in one day, I almost had the entire content from my talk sent to me by different people. Because AI Council helped me by giving me actual data points, which would help me substantiate my points during the talk. And so I think growing the tribe is very important so that we can work together towards this mission or towards this inclusive manufacturing ecosystem. When I say working together, I have to get the men on board. I cannot talk about women's problems to women. I'll be talking, I could just rather talk to a mirror. And hence, every man that I come across, I try to bring them on board in the most empathetic manner, understanding the kind of upbringing he must have had and the beliefs. It is never to shatter their beliefs or to prove anybody wrong. It's just looking for a partner in them. And I've had the good fortune of having worked with amazing men. I have mentors from IMB and ISB, amazing gentlemen who have never let gender come on board, but they have been understanding of our challenges. And these are professors who have designed tailor-made solutions for women also. And my family has been supportive. My father has been the fuel behind my journey. My husband is the most supportive man ever, who is my inspiration also. And these are men who have always been on board, who have shared the mental load and everything, mental load and the household responsibilities, letting me go out and do my thing. And that is my mission mode. And now let us go on to the future. This is the most exciting part for me because this is something that involves you. Young people, young engineers have a big role to play. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, I'm currently in Europe. I've been here for about a year, in fact, exactly a year now. It's been quite a learning experience for me, where I have met with many academicians, many industry experts, and my curiosity has always been about the industry 4.0, because SMEs in India, people in SMEs in India are not up to the mark. By up to the mark, they have the ideas, they have the talent within them, but they do not have the funds to invest in R&D and be at par with the cutting edge industry 4.0 technologies. Many of them don't even understand what is an IoT. I don't understand what an IoT or blockchain is to the depth one should to probably implement such technology in their businesses. Maybe you would understand more. But and we see that the big industries are on the bandwagon, they are at par. But what do we do with the small SMEs of our country? The small SMEs form the crux of an economy. They are the ones that will build the future for the country. All the words that we used in my last survey about in the poll that we took just now regarding machines and construction, this is the future of the country. And if you realize, the supply chain ecosystem for both these industries are mostly small and medium scale industries. And if these SMEs do not have the cutting edge technology like BIM, like blockchain, or anything a part of associated with them, they will really fall behind. And which is why we're seeing the number of SMEs that are shutting down in our country. So for this, I think the solution that I've seen around me in Spain or also in Germany, now that I'm in Spain and earlier in Germany, was that there are innovation ecosystems built where we need all hands in. So all hands in means that we need to, it is working towards a triple helix structure of innovation, where the government, of course, the industry and the academia are entwined with each other, and they work together to build an innovative value chain and an amazing ecosystem where small industries are also brought on board and everybody benefits in the process. It is about open innovation, and it is about everything that you can do to make sure you catch up with the I 4.0 buzz and make sure you are not left behind. There are a few models over here that I have seen. One is the digital innovation centers in Germany and InnoJet based out of Spain, where we have small businesses who come with problem statements to the academia without any investment. They need to pay for the investment, pay for the solution only if it is tailored to them. And the government is also supporting in this process, and the big industries are also supporting. So this is a vision, and for this we need to bring as many stakeholders as possible onto the table. And this is my utopian dream, which I think once we have an inclusive ecosystem in my spaces of industry and work, I can move on to this utopian dream where everybody is on board, and we can build an amazing future for our country with many young people from premier institutions like the IITs and the IIMs and the NITs. And I hope this can be achieved at some point in the future. And so this is, and for this, I would like to open the floor and ask what other ideas can be implemented? What would be the challenges that I would meet if I go on such a thing? Can you guys give me some inputs regarding how I can take this utopian vision forward? Because it's something I've learned now and I don't know how to implement in India, and you form a big chunk of my triple helix structure. And can you please give me some ideas for how can we bring academia industry connect? How can we solidify such a connect? Any inputs?
Yes, students, feel free to give your opinions. This may be a bit of a very high kind of question. I mean, it's a strategic.
It's a
Uh,
strategic thing, but as students, what
yeah.
kind of contributions do you bring to the table? What do you think you can do to perhaps be a part of this ecosystem? Because every node counts.
Yes, exactly. No response. Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a big crowd yet, anyways. So and if
Yeah.
you have any opinion, Lohit, please you could share, or one of
Yeah, I
your
mean,
colleagues.
I agree with your triple helix structure. That's what we try to do, even as an academia. We try to connect as much as possible with the industry, but it's really difficult, to get all the three on board
Mm-hmm.
because especially the government. I think it's also the case outside, but it's not too much. I mean, people are a bit more systematic and
A little too systematic,
sticks.
if I may.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, when we talk about government, the government keeps on changing government policies. The implementation. One government comes and puts on policy, and the next government changes it or drops it. So this is one major challenge. To keep continued effort, and this affects if not the large industries, but micro and small industries. It affects a lot. And academia, and speaking about academia, we also try to write projects in collaboration with industry, with funding support from the government. There are many projects still, but there's a long way to go, like you said, uh, when it comes to actual addressing the actual problems of the society and bringing in sustainable practices, bringing in these practices. It's really a challenge to completely achieve this triple helix structure, right to the operational phase.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are many challenges. Like India may face its own challenges, and outside countries they may face their own challenges. They have no shortage of funding, so they have huge funding, so that makes it easier even for the industries as well as for academia to join hands and come on a single platform. But in our case, that's I mean, we may get funding, but even considering the large scale operations that India needs to address the huge demand in India, the thing with India is there will be a huge demand, but we need a equivalent amount of resources to address that demand. I mean, I'm just speaking in general sense,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the population and because of the consumption rate, and it's a developing country, so obviously there will be demand for consumption. And but only thing is we should have the required number of resources, for which we need the support of government and technology from academic institutes. And yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree with you. I know it's a big challenge. It's a Herculean challenge, if I may. And towards this, I have made a small effort. We have opened Vatson Automation. I floated it last year. It's a company which will be focused at providing automated solutions to SMEs in a cost-effective manner. When
okay.
I mean, we have started by building some automated equipment required in our industry right now, and we hope to graduate to helping other industries in the ecosystem where we can provide small automated solutions where it is also cost effective. And I'm looking for as many partners as possible who can contribute with ideas and to for basically to get the cost bay, and making sure that this SMEs can actually have some value addition by opting for these automated solutions, or it really helps them in the future. So this is a project that I'm working on through Vatson Automation. This is a small contribution that I think might help at some point of time if I put the right effort into it. So young people and young minds and their ideas are really welcome to understand. Maybe I can learn from them about how they can contribute and the kind of ideas they have. There are 100 problem statements in the world, and if we all come together, we don't want to be solving the same. The tragedy I see is the same problem. We work in silos, and the same problem is being repeatedly solved in different places, and that's a lot of waste of resources and valuable funding, like you said. Within India, we have so many incubators, we have so many startup ecosystems. There are many startups working on the same problem. If there were ways that we could collaborate and make sure that there's work for everybody, and there is also the returns are shared among people. I know it's a very utopian concept, and it's always a competition and a rat race we're used to, but I really don't understand why we're solving the same problems repeatedly, because research is something that we have less funding in India, and if there has to be focus towards it, it has to be more targeted and more with a lot of collaboration. Don't you agree?
Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, I would just like to add one thing. Like recently, Ola's electric plant, right? It's fully run by fully all the members there are women. So they have like
I didn't get the name, sorry, Mr. Gupta.
Ola Electric, new
Yeah,
Ola
yeah,
Electric.
Ola. Correct.
Yeah.
Quite an inspiring venture. Yeah.
Yes. So, ma'am, I think like just adding to your previous question, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been possible because more of automation has come into place. Because
Mm-hmm.
generally, like we see less women are there in mechanical branch rather than computer science or electronics, because they generally want to, I think, avoid factory places or on sites or heavy lifting things. So, because of the automation, more and more women can now become part of the factories and manufacturing plants and other things. This is my opinion.
Yeah, that I'm completely with you, Mr. Gupta, and it's something that I'm also working towards, which is why if the SMEs have access to this automation, they can actually hire a lot of women for their day-to-day work, and women, men, everybody can contribute to a greater extent to this part of our economy. Any other inputs? I would love to hear from you.
I think probably there is a need for a cultural shift also, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always look at our roots and say that the genesis of the problem is our roots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's on to us on how we want to make that cultural shift. Like for example, be it engineering branches, be it the choice of career, irrespective of the gender, be it male, female, it should be much more open in terms of can that person handle it using the skills and capabilities. So if you go back to the history, warfare was meant for males
Mm-hmm.
more than females. But over a period of time, gradually there's a shift happening, right? If you look at the history also, we have uh, Lakshmi Bai, right, from Jhansi, who come up and say that yes, we can begin a cultural shift. That cultural shift will be gradual, but if we want to make it much more faster, probably the catalyst are all of us. If we embrace that change and we are open to uh, that shift, probably it can happen within a blink of an eye. It can take years altogether.
Let's hope it's more, at least in the middle of the two that you mentioned. Like I said, all hands in. And there's another aspect that I would like to bring in, because nowadays branches and sectors and industries, the lines between them are not that crisp. They're blurred. I'm also in the construction business, so I've met a few designers of buildings, etc. over here, and I see there are psychologists in that team. What does a psychologist have to do in building design was my first question. But they gave me an amazing answer for that. The psychologist is helping design the space so that the workspace doesn't affect the mental health of the employee who would work in that office. Imagine the kind of vision that goes into designing these buildings and the technology, where psychologists, people who are experts in ethics, everybody are brought to the table. So if I'm saying that there have to be more women in manufacturing or more women in construction, I'm not actually saying that they should be lifting the machine. I would love to see many women on my shop floor, but there's a lot of strategy and idea they can bring with them, maybe in the kind of from the industries that are conventionally more women are a part of. There's a lot of perspectives that can be brought together, and we can bring an amalgamation of different thought processes in these industries also. The supposed heavy machinery, the machines and manufacturing and the construction industry, and a relationship of a woman with machines and buildings needn't be limited to designing it or physically building it. It can also be to imagining it and living in it and giving a perspective as to how they want to be or operate in these spaces that we're designing, or the kind of machinery they would like to operate. So when we design the machinery, how can we make it ergonomic and easy for the women also to operate it? Like Mr. Gupta rightfully pointed out, that it could be easily done where, or if automation is brought into the picture. Then again, it's a vicious cycle where SMEs cannot afford automation. So we have to solve all of this together and in different ways possible. Like Dr. Nakul said, it might take some time, it might happen quickly, we never know. So let us all bring all hands in and try and take this forward. So that is me. And let us, so this you can connect with me for any future talks or for future information from my end, or any other thing that I can do. And if I don't know whether I can get a volunteer from the group where I can help them string the pearls of their past, present, and future, that would be an interesting activity we could do together. If I could get a volunteer, that'll be great, where they can tell me what are their pearls of their past and what they're working on now and what they're working towards. And we can string a couple of pearls together.
Yeah. Is there anybody who is like, who had some of you might have had some plans of entrepreneurship, or maybe a idea that you may be thinking of, you, so you can speak anything that comes to your mind, any of you, in the view that you might have thought that this is the idea, then how the idea might have changed over a period of time, and what do you think of it at this point of time? If somebody has any opinion, feel free to chip in. Okay, if nobody has anything, can I ask a couple of questions?
Definitely, please.
Yeah. So you were mentioning that when you were a director, or when you were managing operations, you had to many a time, overcome them, and that's how your journey was. And you gave a very good example initially, how you had to face all the male people in the meeting room. So that's a good example of your the journey, and the way your parents, your family was very supportive to overcome the challenges. And I can call it a family entrepreneurship experience that you are having, and what you have and what you're going through. So that's very valuable thing that you have suggested, and the importance of family entrepreneurship for a growth of a business. So similarly, can you cite any examples, any more examples, specifically in the operations side, which you might have faced, for example, while executing a project, or while not necessarily behavioral, or maybe how you face some technical challenges,
Okay.
if at all. if at all you're able to recollect?
Yeah, I mean, there are many. One thing that comes off the top of my head is that, like, we manufacture building materials. These building materials are installed in different plants throughout the country. So some of my plants are they're all throughout spread throughout the country. And this particular plant I'm talking about was in Kandla, Gujarat. So I was usually, it was very rare at that point that I would visit sites because it was a little difficult to travel till there earlier in my career. Then slowly I started doing it. So one of my early visits that I went there, um, we manufacture we false ceilings. So when you install a false ceiling, we call it a walkable false ceiling. So there is a lot of safety safety norms that have to be followed to ensure that my false ceiling is safe for people to walk on, the maintenance people to walk on once it is installed. I hope I don't want to get too technical, but it's basically a safety aspect. So if anybody from the management visits the site, we have to check a few basic points to make sure that the team is doing a good job. So the first challenge I had there was the safety guys were shocked when I asked them for the safety equipment. They didn't have any belt that would fit me properly because they were mostly loosened for the men and it is not up to date and things like that. But then finally they found a fresh pair for me. But it was amusing for me to see that they were amused. This typical attitude. It was in Kandla, a little conservative society, and they were like, "What is this woman doing on this place? She doesn't belong." That is written across their face. But I had to do my job. I had a report to prepare. And the next shock was when they had to do some paperwork for me to get on top of what do you say? Get on top of a ladder, to climb up a ladder. So when I started doing the safety, guy said, no, you need special permission. So, but at that point, I had to actually give up Lohit and said, okay, fine. So I got my team to go and take pictures of what all I wanted to do so I can check whether it's okay. I found a couple of mistakes, but that's okay. I did my job and it was all sorted. But I felt bad that I couldn't climb and actually look at it myself. And I was prevented, not in the regular scroll. And because as a woman, they didn't want to make an extra effort for that one thing. But I guess that's a part of the journey. And from next time onwards, if I wanted to climb, if I want to go up, I told my team, my colleagues to say that please get my permits ready before I get to this site. So that was a learning. And still in most places, I end up getting them take photos for me and I see. The only place I can work freely, do what I want to do, operate any tool that I want is my factory. But there also, of course, with all the safety gear, which is a norm, definitely.
Okay, that's nice. Another example. Thank you for sharing all your experiences frankly.
Yeah, and the best thing, I think young girls and women, I think when I was in college also, most of the girls who, when they did their practical lab, they took a lot of help from their professors. Maybe if they need more strength or whatever. But I think they have to be trained hands-on. Only then the fear for machine and the shop floor would go away from them. So maybe I don't know how you function at your college. I hope things have changed over the last 10 years and I hope girls are more hands-on when they want to learn in a mechanical space. So that will be a great contribution to make them have less fear to be in these industries.
True, very true. Yeah, I mean, uh, the ability of hands-on experiences to make to give you a very good experience is second to none. Yeah. So yeah, I just have another question. You said you diverse. I mean, you also introduced the automation. Also, you are the managing director of Vatson Automation. So, what made you think about diversifying to automation sector? I know automation is very important, and it's the trend. It's a trend that's required. What areas of these construction or these things can be automated, or have you tried to implement in your industry?
Okay. There are two situations that led me into floating Vatson automation. One is, like I mentioned, I've been trying to hire women into my manufacturing industry. And it has been a challenge. Like I said, there's a skill gap and they don't want to do so much heavy lifting work. So, and hence, like Mr. Gupta also pointed out, automation, I thought, can integrate more women into the manufacturing workplace. So, which thought, I was like, I'm one company. There are thousands of SMEs throughout our country, lakhs of SMEs in our country. They can also hire women if they have automation, and they can also increase the productivity. There are multiple advantages. And specifically, that I see one problem that we have in India is that safety is something that we do not think about. And when we talk about safety, you cannot have so many safety engineers in the smallest of businesses. If you can automate that one aspect of an SME, you can go leaps and. There are some companies already working on it. I'm trying to build collaborations with them and maybe implement it for an SME format where the existing CCTVs can be used to ensure that people are not breaking any safety rules. The same would go for in a construction industry. In construction, especially in industrial building construction, we're talking about lakhs of square meter of area, of built up area, hundreds of team working parallelly. So that would mean, if I'm talking about hundreds of team, we're talking about at least 200 safety engineers, qualified safety engineers, and we're talking about godforsaken places in the country where it's not accessible. You might not have so many safety engineers, and more often than not, the responsibility of managing such a big team falls on 5-6 people of a safety team, which is big. And if it is automated and they have technology support to help them when there's a beep or something, when somebody is going offline, not wearing a helmet, and this can be pointed out, we can really bring a lot of change to the industry that way. Safety is one aspect. And yeah, please, you saying something?
No, go ahead. Yeah, if you want to continue.
Yeah, safety is one aspect and quality is the second aspect. SMEs are trying to export from India from many years, and quality is one place that we fall short. And for quality part of things, if we can automate it and not depend entirely on human beings, it has to be a mix. If we can incorporate AI into the mix, where we can check the quality of the end products that are produced to satisfactory level. And if we have such an automated system, that would be an amazing selling point in the international market. These are the things this, okay, you have a quality management procedure. Yes, it is automated, it is AI. We have the technology in place. You're immediately on the table and they take you seriously and you can take it forward. These are the two main problems, two spaces that I wish to address with automation in SME, because completely automating SMEs at this point doesn't make as much sense to me. Of course, there are many other factors that we can take. I want to start with these two factors. Safety
Yeah, it's really interesting. These 2 points are very important areas where you can actually implement automation. The reason why I'm saying is many graduates, engineers, or rather people, they have this opinion not to choose a construction industry as their career just because of the amount of labor involved in this. And so putting a bit of automation as much as possible to reduce the workload on them, like you said, is a really good area of implementation for automation and AI. And also quality, yeah, you can the implementation of AI and technology will put you in the forefront of the businesses. So that's really good, and also improves the brand image. Yeah. So yeah, I'm done with my questions, and if anybody has more questions, I could see a hi from Karthik, but he seems to have left.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Actually, even if
I just have a quick question.
Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I just want to ask, I just quickly went through the Vatson website, right? So my question is, what I at least see, at least let's say in tier 2 cities, is construction businesses generally are um, are generally not kind of uh, are generally still done by the local guys, right?
Yeah.
Not by, yeah. So and I think somewhere your services are for, let's say, bigger enterprises or firms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, and my question is, ma'am, like one of my friends has this uh, a new idea, or he's working on this idea,
Mm-hmm.
where you want to, let's say, sell something new to customers, right? Which is
Okay.
not that much needed, but might be useful in the future, right? So my question is regarding entrepreneurship. How do you convince a customer to take your service in that case? Like, let's say he had some automation tool, right? Like you mentioned, based on AI. So, like we generally go and try to sell it to the customer because it's more of a luxury, or more of a luxury rather than a necessity. So they will generally not be very uh, happy to take it. So my question, quickly putting it, how do you sell such a product? I hope I am
Um,
clear.
yeah, I get, you are quite clear. Okay, there's this famous, you've heard of Hilti, I hope. Hilti, I think this is it. This was it. They was going to sell drilling machines, and they never sold the drilling machine. They sold the hole, the hole that you need. That is what the customer needs. So when you're selling your product, it might be automation. We usually engineers, like even I'm an engineer. When I turned an entrepreneur, I started selling the features of the product. I kept on saying that my thickness is great, my insulation performance is great. I started talking about it has a fire rating of 2 hours. My product has a fire rating of 2 hours. And like you said, if I have to sell to small businessmen, small farmers who need cold storage in their place, they don't care about these things. I have to tell them how many days can they store their banana in the cold storage without going bad and ready for selling. So every customer has a need that you, even if it's a luxurious need or luxury, there's a problem you're solving. If you don't solve the problem and you sell the product, it is of no point. So each customer, you might have to change your pitch. And even if it's a luxury product, Apple sold a vision. I don't think we need a 1 lakh rupee phone, but I know most my friends have the latest iPhones with them. So that is a kind of vision that Steve Jobs had, and the way he sold it to the world, and how people upgrade their phones all the time and making sure they're up to the mark. So you sell what the person needs. Over here, Apple is selling status quo. It's selling fancy. It's selling that you're cool. So that is what they're selling. So if you're selling an automation product, you'd sell the productivity. What percentage you can increase the productivity? What he or she is a businessman or a businesswoman. How much can you increase their profits by including your equipment or your machinery? That you have to sell that. Your objective, the moment you sell only your products, you will be a business person. The moment you solve the problem, you become an entrepreneur. And this is my belief, and this is what I'm standing by.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Does it answer your question, or is it does
Yes,
it
ma'am.
does it not? Okay.
I got your point. Like, you have to somehow convince him of the benefits that he can reap out of the products, maybe
Before you
in
start
some time
convincing them,
near future.
yeah,
Yes.
before you start convincing them, understand their problem statement, the situations, the challenges they're facing. Have a candid conversation with them before you start selling. And then after that, you solve their problem, and by giving your solution, and then you sell your actual product. So that has to be. So I mean, this is a I've I mean, I can do a little this thing on selling at some point of time, but yeah, there is a process to this. You cannot start with selling a 2 lakh 3 lakh rupee product before you understand the person who's sitting across the table.
Yes, ma'am. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hello, ma'am. This is Priya. Not necessarily a question, but I really like your point on automation of quality. So, presently, we are running a manufacturing unit. So, we
Mm-hmm.
used to have, so we parallelly run automation and also a manual one.
Mm-hmm.
So, pre COVID, we used to run the automation. And the point that you really brought it on was including quality as an automation, which was
Yeah.
perfect when we were using manufacturing automation machinery. So everything was included. So we really didn't necessarily need as much trained quality people because it was already included in the automation of manufacturing. And at the end, it would qualify and the product would come out. But now, after like during COVID, we had to change our strategy and all that. So we had to
Mm-hmm.
move to the manual part of it. And the other
Mm-hmm.
thing I do want to bring it out is most of our shop floor uh, people who operate the machines are women. And
Mm-hmm.
so we had to
Amazing.
train them. I know I'm very proud of it, but so we had to, we trained them on automation. And those
Mm-hmm.
women are so flexible in picking up things and they move to manual also. And
Mm-hmm.
right now they're continuing it. But I do want to ask some points on how to include quality as a automation to a to a manual process.
Okay, so you were saying that you want ideas for retrofitting your existing manual process with an automated.
Or quality.
Yeah, so it depends on the product. Priya. I mean I can
Okay.
call you Priya.
Yeah, Priya.
Yeah. So it depends on what your product would be. So maybe we can
Mhm.
connect offline, and I can understand the details, and perhaps I can share my 2 cents. And I would love to learn a lot from you how you've trained your women, and maybe I can learn a lot from you too. Is that
Oh,
okay, Priya?
no, these are very smart women. Women are intuitively smart. They are diligent. They are very honest in their work and very hardworking women.
Cool.
So
I would
they,
love to learn. I mean, I would love to learn the training process that you have implemented that I can adapt to my
sure,
teams also.
definitely. I would love to connect with you.
Thank you. And like I said, we'll take your question offline when to understand what exactly the product is and
Yes,
what
yeah,
how
it
to
is
do.
I understand it's a very catered to, right, because it depends on
Yeah,
quality is a
yeah.
very implemented into each product. It's completely separate because the moment we look at our automation unit, we know
Mm-hmm,
what's coming out and the quality what needs to be checked is included into the machine because it's designed for that product. So
mm-hmm,
even the machinery, the manual machinery, yeah, we do have to maybe what I was thinking was something that are small at the end, like once a product comes out of one stage, we can just check
mm-hmm.
it and
Yeah,
move
both.
forward.
You mean you want the
Uh,
in-process inspection and also the end product inspection, correct?
exactly. Yeah, that better, right? I think it's better to be done in process so that the whole cycle will be a
You have to
minimal
make
one
sure
rather
at every
than to the
stage. Okay, cool.
yes.
Yeah,
Because at the end
yeah,
means again it would we would lose too much of time and money if it's an end product quality.
please DM me on LinkedIn and then we'll connect offline. I can share your number. We can talk also. No problem.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other inputs?
Ma'am, I would just like to give a small input what just Priya ma'am said. Uh,
No
like
problem.
uh, yeah, in one of the companies in Hyderabad actually contacted one of our professors here in computer
Mm-hmm.
vision. The
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing plant, what it said was they want to check whether the bottles, glass bottles which are being manufactured, do they have crack or something? Because
Mm-hmm.
worker, whenever manager comes, workers start picking more bottles and throwing it away in order to
Mm-hmm.
show that he's being alert there. And so actually that bottle is not may not be actually damaged. So what
Mm-hmm.
they did was they just asked one of the uh, one the team here, AI team here, in order to build the AI computer vision system, which can actually automate this process of quality checking. And a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
things are going on. Just giving one small input. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's great. That's nice. So then I can think of your team as one of the partners that can help me and my fellow SMEs
Yes,
automate
ma'am.
different.
Actually, yes, ma'am. Actually, I was kind of working with that professor, so just giving one small input. Thank you.
Great, great. And we'll definitely connect after this and discuss more solutions that we can implement in manufacturing industries. I can come
Sure,
to you
ma'am.
with as many problem statements as I get, and then we can take it forward from there. Right, Mr. Gupta?
Sure, ma'am. No, no worries.
Okay. So, can we call it a day? I mean, or do we have any more questions? And in fact, like you said, you will be sharing it on your internal networks. And if anyone has any question or any queries or inputs or ideas or anything, they can connect with me via LinkedIn
Yeah, sure.
or
Yeah, if there are
email
no
me.
more, yeah, if there are no more questions, we can also call it a day. And like Smrithy mentioned, you can share, ask your questions, send an email over to her if you have any further questions. Yeah. So we will like you just to clarify, we are going to share it in our department website, and all everybody, the public will be able to access it. Anybody who visits the website or who can see the link and actually access all these recordings. So, I hope that is okay for you.
No problem. I have no
Yeah.
issues with that.
Thank you so much, Smriti, for a wonderful lecture and sharing all your experiences. Um, and yeah, looking forward to have you sometime in future again in some of collaborations or any other possible combined work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lohit, for the
Yeah,
opportunity, and my thanks to Dr. Ganesh and Dr. Nakul and everybody for this lovely opportunity. I really enjoyed it, and I hope to stay connected with all of you.
sure.
Yeah. Bye bye. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
Yeah.